Headphone warning, if you're listening to this video on headphones, you may want to adjust the volume because I'm probably going to get pretty freaking loud in this video. I've just been sent what is quite possibly the most credible source of information I have yet received about House of the Dragon. I am of course referring to the Series 1 Bible or the Season 1 Bible to House of the Dragon. Now this info more or less reads like a producer's notes from the actual first season of the show. Now you may want to more or less take this information with a grain of salt because it could be a load of bullshit. But as always, here's your sign. Now, before we get started, if you could please do me a massive favor and slap a like on this video, as the like goal is going to be 420. And also, this is the most important part. Make sure you're subscribed and have your notifications turned on, so that way you'll get alerted every single time I drop a video throughout this long night. And a really big shout out to Brick23, Bloody Tyrant, Leah Hendrickson, Angie Delehanty, Nancy Tockstein, Marilyn Miller, Fred Wicks, BEL-a-Donna, Cater Tot, and Joe Swag. They are all members of my Patreon family. And if you all watching this video are interested, check out the link down below in the description or go check out patreon.com/HuntsReviews. Now, just to give you all a description of this information that I was sent, this person kind of generalized the actual filming information, like what parts or what scenes they're getting ready to start filming for, because they are building sets. I don't know if they've actually filmed anything because we haven't really heard concrete information on filming. I mean, I've heard some stuff, everybody's kind of heard some shit, but we don't really know, who's been cast. They are, however, building sets. And this person does have some information on that, but they mentioned that the salary for the main cast, and this is kind of, I think, the most iffy information because this would sort of confirm that they've cast most of the actors, which I don't think they've done. Although, I guess if they have, just on a side note, if they have cast these actors, it is possible to keep it a secret because they're most likely doing auditioning like in Skype meetings, you know what I mean? Or maybe they'll go to an office at a film studio and there'll just be one or two other people there. So it is possible to keep that info on the download right now. This world that we're in is a new type of world, so information can be kept secret when it comes to filming stuff. Not so much filming, more so casting information. If everything's being done behind closed doors and over the power of webcams, then you can keep information like that a secret. Getting back on track here, this person says that the salary for the main cast, being 5 cast members that are going to have the most screen time in the first season of House of the Dragon, range from $10 to $15 million. So if I were to take away any sort of information from that, it would be that at least 2 or 3 of those actors are probably A-list in some part of the world, whether that be the UK, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, over here in the States, anywhere. I mean, that kind of money, if this is true, doesn't really call for low budget and low talent actors. That sort of, to me at least, screams like top tier talent, which is good news, because one of the things that made Game of Thrones so great in the earlier seasons was the long dialogue scenes that you would have with just 1 or 2 actors on screen. It was in those long drawn out moments of conversation that you could get in sort of in the head of the character like you can in the novels where you're actually reading their thoughts. Those long drawn out dialogue moments were where the magic happens and the payoff or the build up sort of happens for when they have some massive battle, fight scene, or dragon sequence. And speaking of dialogue, this person goes on to mention that increased social distancing has made it so that a lot of these scenes in the earlier episodes, at least for the first part of the filming, feature 1 to 2 characters per like 5 or 6 minute dialogue scene. It's what Game of Thrones is famous for, like I just mentioned, and this person states that sort of one-on-one dialogue, the directors of the pilot noticed that it plays really well to get the audience to be able to know who these characters are, because a lot of them have a lot of complicated backgrounds and the story is so complex and it's all new, so a lot of people are going to be walking into this show relatively blind. The fact that they were filmed to force one-on-one dialogue scenes more often made for a new, interesting, and complete way of telling a story. And just sort of interjecting my own personal opinion here, if this is true, that's freaking awesome, because one of the biggest complaints I saw from my comment section and friends that I know in real life that are fans of the show, they would always be like, oh wait, who's that person? Or what's that character's name? And if this show is going to be starting early on with, a lot of these scenes explaining who are the most important people, which is what Game of Thrones Thrones did in season 1. Obviously, they could have done more of it, but this new story they're telling in House of the Dragon is so much more complex than the War of the Five Kings in Game of Thrones. There's a lot more moving parts, and if this story is going to start where we all think it is, well, then that would be equivalent to sort of starting somewhere like where Joffrey and Sansa were supposed to get married. You know what I mean? Not quite that far into the story, but a very similar part where we need to be explained early on, for the average show watcher at least, what the hell is going on and what sort of twists and turns to expect. Now, speaking of twists and turns, this person also mentions that the pacing seems more realistic, meaning there's less time jumps and the timeline itself is more linear and easier to figure out how far a character is from another character and whether they're doing an event at the same time. Basically, how much time has passed in between each scene. Now, this person is saying that from apparently having had either read the script or wrote the script. Now, I personally don't believe this person did either of those, but what I do think is possible is that there is a series Bible that exists, because we do know that when George R. R. Martin first confirmed, I think it was back in November of 2019, that the show had not only been greenlit for like a pilot episode, but that it had been ordered for a 10-episode first season. George mentioned that Ryan Condal, who is the showrunner, had wrote a series Bible. So it does exist, and it had exist pre-COVID in November. So it's been floating around for a while, and I'm pretty sure shows don't just get like greenlit from having read a script. And George also mentioned that Ryan Condal not only wrote the series Bible, but also the script for the pilot episode. Pretty sure they didn't just read the script and go, okay, let's get 10 episodes of this. No, there was probably a pilot filmed. As a matter of fact, I've been sent information on a pilot that I will be covering in an up and coming episode, so make sure you have your notifications turned on and you are subscribed so you get alerted as soon as I drop that video throughout this long night. But just getting back on track, there's likely a pilot that has been filmed. HBO head runners, showrunners, president, executive, they all saw that and greenlit the show, wanted to greenlight it for a 10-episode first series. And with the existence of a pilot script and a series Bible confirmed by the turtle wizard himself, Gurm, some of this information is likely valid. Speaking of valid, this person goes on to state, and this is probably the most valid information, is that the budget for the first season of House of the Dragon is between $150 to $200 million. The extra $50 million variance is because the number of dragons that will be featured in season 1 hasn't been confirmed. Now, there's a rumor that there could be 6, there's a rumor that there could be as many as 10, but what is confirmed is that there is one major dragon battle, or a battle scene that includes dragons fighting, and also a scene in which several extras are lit on fire and then fed to dragons. Now, we're no stranger to this, as obviously we've seen this several times on Game of Thrones, but apparently there's something special about this scene in that there's nearly 5 people being fed to what's being described as a pit of dragons. Now, before I get into the last part of this video, which I'm describing as, I guess, sort of like a plot description of a few of the episodes of season 1 of House of the Dragon, I want to mention that I picked back up a hobby that I had when I was a kid. When I was in middle school, I was obsessed with drawing Dragon Ball Z characters or any anime I could get my hands on. I was obsessed with sort of drawing those. So I decided to pick it back up for Game of Thrones, and I did this House Stark emblem right here, and I'm actually doing like a bit of a giveaway for it. I'll announce the winner in one of my next few videos, but the only thing you have to do to enter this giveaway is just leave a comment down below and slap a like on this video, and I'll choose a winner, message them for their address, and send this their way. Remember, all you have to do is slap a like on this video, make sure you're subscribed, and then leave a comment down below to enter. Now, the last little bit of info this person gives me is that the first episode, or the first 3 episodes rather, are going to be an introduction to Viserys and Rhaenyra, meaning the first episodes and the longest scenes of those episodes are going to focus on those two characters and their relationship. There are said to be several dialogue scenes between them, and a rivalry between Rhaenyra and Alicent is established. Apparently there's a setup for a tourney that takes place in episode 3. This is most likely that world famous tourney that King Viserys and Queen Alicent hold in King's Landing in honor of their 5th year anniversary. This is the event where the greens versus the blacks are established. Queen Alicent wore a green gown in honor of House Hightower, which is her ancestral home, and then Rhaenyra wore traditional black and red gown, which is the colors of House Targaryen. Now, this person goes on to mention that this was written before the actual actresses had been cast, or before they even started looking at actresses to cast in these roles, but Rhaenyra is described as a bit on the less fairer side, meaning she's not as pretty as Alicent, but she does, or the actress who plays her anyway, needs to have a way of commanding every scene she's in, basically stealing the spotlight from every actor that she shares a scene with. What she lacks in beauty, she makes up for in charisma, and she needs to be portrayed by an actress who is capable of doing this. This person mentions that Queen Alicent is said to come off at first as an innocent sort of stepmother that is just doing things that she didn't really have that much control over, and she's just playing her role just like everyone else. But then afterwards, when she's in the company of her confidants and not in front of Viserys or a great council, that's when she shows her true colors. So she's basically like Cersei in that sense, that she's a backstabber, but also she's better than Cersei because she can play the game. She's said to be more robotic and sort of like a bit of an emotionless person in front of everyone else. She's more better, or I guess the correct terminology would be a more seasoned player than Cersei, meaning that she's better equipped to play the game. Now, in my opinion, that sounds like a pretty interesting dynamic, because this person mentions that at first, Alicent is actually kind of comes off as the hero, because Rhaenyra does something sort of rude to her during a moment in front of an audience with Viserys, and Rhaenyra has the moment to play the game, but she doesn't. She does something that shows her true emotions towards Alicent, and Alicent plays it off really well. And they mentioned that for at least the first 2 or 3 episodes, you don't really see Alicent's true intentions, and that even when she shows her, true emotions with her counterparts, you don't really see that she's been planning on something this entire time, and scenes that we had in the first few episodes start to make a lot more sense. And they don't really specify, but if I had to guess, I would think what they were trying to say is that maybe there's a few scenes with Alicent and her counselors or her advisors, maybe someone like her father, Sir Otto Hightower, or Criston Cole, who is a knight, the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, who actually plays both sides a little bit. When Rhaenyra and him are younger, they kind of have a thing, or at least it's alluded to in the books. But if I had to guess, I would say that maybe there's a scene with Criston Cole or Otto Hightower where we only catch the tail end of the conversation, and it just from that context, makes Alicent looks like she's playing for the good guys. Now, I don't really know if this is true or not. The North definitely plays a part in the Dance of Dragons, but this person mentions that there is a quick flash to the North, and we just get a scene with the current Starks in power visiting with some of the other Northern lords, and there's like a scene in the Great Hall. Now, apparently, this person states that King Viserys I dies soon after the tourney that happens in episode 3, so if I had to guess, maybe episode 4, episode 5, and then the season actually ends with the crowning of Aegon II, and it's intersplit with footage of the crowning of Rhaenyra on Dragonstone. So Aegon II, after the death of Viserys, if you all are unfamiliar with the story, check the link down below or one of these cue cards that have been going off during this video. I've done several videos the past few weeks about what the events of the House of the Dragon are going to be, at least based on how the books are going to be, and I plan on doing a very in-depth version of it coming out that'll probably take at least 5 episodes, or 5 videos rather. But just to sort of summarize, King Viserys and his first wife, Princess Rhaenyra's mother, was unable to have any sons, so he made Queen Rhaenyra the next in line for the Iron frickin' Throne. As soon as he dies, Alicent acts on this, crowns her son, Aegon II, and then Queen Rhaenyra, on hearing the news of her father's death, crowns herself in Dragonstone. So apparently this person is saying that the season finale for House of the Dragon is going to be footage that ends intercut, split up between Queen Rhaenyra being crowned and King Aegon II being crowned in King's Landing and on Dragonstone. And I've shared my opinion on this information throughout this video, so you all let me know what you think about all this down below in the comment section. Now, since we know that Ryan Condal has been confirmed to have written not only the script for the pilot episode, which means a pilot was likely filmed since the show was greenlit for an entire first season, but he's also responsible for the show Bible, the other half of that equation as far as showrunners, aside from George R. R. Martin, is Miguel Sapochnik. This is the man responsible for the Battle of the Bastards and Hardhome, and some of the most amazing episodes of the original series Game of Thrones. So one thing he specializes in is battle sequences. If I had to guess my own personal opinion, this first season is going to have, and all throughout this series, is going to have battle sequences, especially if this reported budget of $150 to $200 million just for the first season alone is true, then we're in for a treat. And I did see a few comments in my last video about Ryan Condal having done a Hercules movie and a Rampage movie, both of which weren't really received that well. Well, I will say that he is more famous for the show Colony, which has like a 90-something% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and although I've never seen it, some people whose opinion I personally trust very well have seen it and said it's a really good show. And maybe I'll watch it eventually story if I have some time, but that doesn't really reflect or mean anything for House of the Dragon. You got to realize that he's not necessarily making this story. He's not making it up from scratch. He's following George R.R. Martin's storyline. And if someone like Dan and Dave can do that and give us 4 excellent seasons of a show for a storyline that was never really completed, I'm pretty sure that Ryan Condal, Miguel Sapochnik, and George R. R. Martin are going to give us an amazing show in House of the Dragon, because this storyline has already been completed. Well, alright, I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you could please slap a like on this video, as the like goal is going to be 420. Also, make sure you're subscribed and turn your notifications on so that way you get alerted every single time I drop a video throughout this long night. And also, don't forget about the giveaway that I'm having. All you have to do to enter that giveaway for this awesome, I think it's awesome anyway, House Stark drawing that I did is leave a like on this video and make sure you leave a comment down below, and I'll pick a winner in one of my up and coming videos. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and a super special shout out to every single person on my Patreon family over on patreon.com/SirHuntsReviews. I want to thank you all again so much for watching. My name is Mark, and this has been Sir Hunts.